Hope Radio, Kingfisher FM.
And there's been quite a focus on education in our news bulletins and stories from around our city as we try and make sense of this unusual situation that we find ourselves in. Well, it's wonderful to be able to engage with the schools, and this morning, a wonderful privilege to introduce Grant Butler, Headmaster of Grade Junior School, and his son Daniel, who's now currently in grade 11 at the high school. Gents, good morning. Welcome to Kingfisher FM.
No, what a beautiful morning. Thanks for having us.
Come on, Daniel, speak to us.
Yeah.
He's just noting who's in charge there. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate that.
We discussed that. Me first.
All right. So, interesting days here. Grant, just give us an update. How are you guys doing? I mean, I can't imagine the pressure that you guys are feeling at the moment. Give us a little insight into how you guys are doing.
No, I think from a school point of view, it has been tough. I think that people, especially teachers, have learned to teach in a certain way, and I think that they're good at it. Face to face is a calling, and to learn to work online without the connection has been tough. So it's also ongoing. There's no calendar to this thing. So we found that all of the lines of we find ourselves on an early morning radio show for the first time, and that's interesting in itself, and challenging.
Yeah, good stuff, man. And Daniel, grade 11, I mean, if I remember, that was such a crucial year in high school. How have you found the year so far?
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting so far, having to learn all the new concepts like online learning. It's been quite challenging at home with my parents both being teachers and my brother studying at NMU, so even went as far as us having to put a schedule up on the fridge for Zoom lessons.
Daniel. Daniel, we feel your pain, bud. We feel your pain, yeah.
Yes. And obviously,
go for it.
Missed my friends and playing sports, but the academic side of school, it's been quite challenging. I mean, just having to have the self-discipline and having to meet the deadlines, and especially learning all the challenging work. Like you say, it's the grade 11 being so fundamental by yourself without a teacher. It's been challenging. And yeah.
Daniel has never said that grade 11 is fundamental until this point.
You must be reading a script that you wrote there, Grant. Must be.
No, it's as I told him.
But Daniel, I mean, grade 11, I think the sport, would be the hardest for me to be missing out on, because are you doing any sport? I mean, is any sport activity actually happening?
So there's no sport happening at the moment, which is quite disappointing because, I mean, I'm playing first team hockey at the moment, first team polo, and for all those events to be cancelled so suddenly, it's just quite hard, and you have to just accept it, but it's just nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing they can do.
Well, Grant, I mean, you mentioned online teaching. I've got some friends who are teachers and have had to adjust. Some of them are frustrated by it because it's not quite the same. So how have you and the team sort of been adjusting to this online e-learning story?
I think that our great gift is that we've had great support. And so we've had, I'm going to say especially old grays, but one in particular who would probably be embarrassed if I mentioned his name, but who really came to the party and helped us emerge on an online platform that we hadn't been on before. And we'd be the first to admit that there are other schools that were way ahead of us in online learning and, I suppose, integrated technology. And so for us, that was the first challenge, is getting up to speed with being online and doing it well. And then because I think we're a primary school, and I speak on behalf of the primary school, the connection and relationship between teacher and boy is the most important thing.
Yes.
And so that's something that we really had to learn, because there's no platform other than face-to-face contact that fosters that relationship that we think is the most important part of primary school teaching anyway.
And what about access to the material? Because, I mean, even in our household, we didn't have enough gigs to accommodate the situation. I had to go and fight with my service providers just to try and keep up with the pace of things. I mean, it's not easy to get access to all this e-learning.
Well, that's the primary worry for most schools, and we were no exception to that, was the fact that staff and boys were relying on limited data, limited technology, and even a curriculum that hadn't been designed in a way for online learning. And so for us, a primary concern was access. And we did a bit of a survey and discovered that although in our particular situation we had all the boys had access, Some of it was by hook or by crook. I've found out now that there were boys, for example, who were sneaking in even during lockdown, names will not be mentioned, to mom's and dad's office just to get access to a computer.
Sure.
And we worked out that about 15% of the boys at grade junior were relying on their own cell phone for access to our digital platform, and it's not designed for a cell phone. It works, but it's not designed for it. So devices and data and printers were a problem.
Sure. Well, you mentioned the sort of the old boys, and you said that they've played a big role, because I think the long-term effects of missing out on half a year of school or a couple of months and not maybe being up to speed, I mean, it could be quite a challenge in the long term. So how have the old boys sort of assisted in this?
Well, we're very lucky that way. We had with the NPO, the Grey Foundation, whose focus is on fundraising and financial support and other support for the schools. We were lucky that the Grey Foundation put together an appeal, a special appeal for the exact purpose of raising funds and garnering assistance from across the world to help us with that, so that we could help families. And that appeal was financial, and also turned out to be quite physical, in that we had old boys donating laptops, desktop PCs, and then the finance that we were able to gain through that fundraising initiative can be used to support family ongoing in data and etc. Because, Gareth, this isn't going away. It's not now that schools have returned, we're fine, and everything returns to normal. Even our new normal is an alternating day, and some schools are going with an alternating week, like Grey High School, where the boys are still spending half the time online. And so in our particular situation, we have Group 1 and Group 2, and so Group 1 comes to school, even in the new norm, on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday of the following week. And on the alternate days, they're still online. And so that pressure is still real. So, that ongoing support from the Grey Foundation and others is essential to us.
Wow. All right. So it's going to be part of our life going forward, and we don't know how long for. So I think the support of the Grey Foundation and the parents has been invaluable. We see this across the schools, and I can imagine, Grant, there's still opportunity for people to be involved. It's not going to get easier.
No, that's for sure. And, that's important. I think that anyone who thinks that this is just going to go away is fooling themselves. I think that this is here, we're predicting at least until the end of the year, but who knows? You can see the Department of Education doesn't know, and which makes their job much more difficult.
Yeah.
But certainly that support is ongoing, and, in Grey's position, through the Grey Foundation, their website, thegrey.com, is a place that perhaps your listeners could even go, and we hope the Grey community would go and be able to participate in this initiative, making sure that families who don't have access to the technology or the data can be supported by the schools. But I want to be so bold as to say that I can't speak just on behalf of Grey. I think that communities around the city should look to their schools, and if they're able to, they should assist their schools, because we're all in this boat together.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think the grey.com, a wonderful resource, Grey Foundation. Just click on it there, get more information. Daniel, from your side, I mean, you guys are used to technology. You've been using social media for a long time. How have you managed to actually, you mentioned discipline earlier, because I think that's probably one of the hardest things in keeping yourself busy with academic, where you've known a device to be your social connector. Now it's your learning connector. So what's kept you busy, and how have you managed to maintain the sort of the discipline to make this about school and not just about playing games or whatever it is, eh?
Yeah, it's been very different. I mean, even as far as sounds silly, but like learning how to use an email properly. I mean, email for our generation is something we hardly even use, and now we have to email work all the time, and it's definitely become something that we have to get used to. And I mean, it's after a while it was quite challenging, but we got used to it very fast. I mean, I've been trying to keep myself fit in the back garden with my brother, and been trying to read books, or more like pretending to read books, and watching a lot of Netflix. But I would say one of the most cool things during this time was to have a foundation for my school during May, and the project that we did was quite exciting and it was fulfilling.
Yeah, that was with Sia Khaleesi, wasn't it? Huh?
Yes, that was.
Yeah, and him and his wife, of course, they've been very involved. We've seen them involved in the city and the school. What did you guys actually do with them? What was your involvement?
So the whole idea of the foundation is to raise funds to put together food parcels for the communities and the people that quite unfortunately have lost their jobs and don't have the income to buy the food and items that they need. So as the Grey Foundation, we raised the funds together, and together we put the food parcels together and went into the township with Sia to his old school and handed out some of the food parcels that we had raised funds to put together.
Sure.
And it was an awesome experience, and it was quite a privilege just to be a part of it and see how the people are living out there and how privileged we are. And
wow.
It was definitely an eye-opener.
Yeah, and what's the response like to Sia when you go into his old community?
It was a crazy experience just to see Sia being such a successful person, to see where he came from, see how close he is to the people from his community. And we went to his school just to see his old teachers and how much they appreciate Sia and how much he appreciates their help from when he was small and how much they helped him to be where he is now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Awesome experience.
Yeah, you mentioned food parcels. I mean, how many were you guys involved in just handing out or packing, and how many did you end up doing?
So by the end of May, the Grey Foundation had managed to raise funds to have 850 parcels made to hand out to the community, which is an awesome amount.
Wow.
And it really shows how much people have been putting in, and the knowledge that people know that there are problems out there, so that they're helping out. So it was really awesome to get the parcels.
Wow, that's incredible. Is this still going on? Has it come to an end?
No, it hasn't come to an end. Obviously, this is going to be with us for a long time.
Yes.
Obviously, because people have lost their jobs, so they don't have the income coming in anymore. So it's going to be a problem that we're going to have to work with for a long time.
Okay, so people can still now contribute through, I'm assuming, the Grey Foundation?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and just go through the website, get more information, Daniel?
So the people can donate to the Grey Foundation. That will be on the Grey account, and then they can put as much money as they want, the banking details, and so.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Grant, you meant...
Gareth,
go for it.
If I can interject there to say that I think with all appeals, kindness is the motivator, and the amount is the less important thing. And so I think that even people are starting to realize that every little bit helps. And so we had one old Grey who donated one old laptop, which wasn't as old as we thought it would be, and it makes a huge difference to a family. And so, somebody gave us something that almost apologetically, I'm sorry, this is all I can give.
Yes.
And it turns out to be a very liberating thing. And the same with the Khaleesi Foundation and the Grey Foundation's food parcel project is, even if you're helping one family for a short while, it's more than nothing.
Absolutely, and I love what you guys are doing. I think, Grant, one of the messages that I've felt quite strong about over this time is that our kids, they need a sense of purpose. But besides the schooling side, is that we need to make them aware of the needs around us and get them involved. And I'm sure you've seen, even for Daniel, but for the other kids, those who've got involved, it sort of enriched their lives a little bit and made them aware of the reality of how we need to be better South Africans, maybe?
Absolutely. And, the irony of it is that that we launched the year as a junior school with 2020 being our wordplay, and we said that it was going to be a year of perfect vision, 2020 being the play there. And we thought that that we would like to help our the children in our care to see the world differently. And we had all sorts of plans for how that was going to happen, and everything changed because of COVID.
Yeah.
But of course, the truth is that they've seen the world differently anyway. And I think that if an initiative like the Sia Khaleesi Foundation, and perhaps even just seeing their teachers in a different way, that's been realized to some extent. But I think for young people generally, and this is not a criticism, but I think that they spend a lot of time looking down and looking inward, and their social circles are actually quite tight. And any opportunity for them to look up and look around and realize that they actually can participate very powerfully. I think that's an important thing to allow them to do.
Yes.
An opportunity to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Grant. Daniel, are you nodding your head or shaking your head? We can't see.
No, I agree with that 100%.
That is the correct answer. I'll give you 10 out of 10 there, Daniel. Well done. Might give you an extra grade or something. Listen, guys, thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for sharing the story. A unique situation we find ourselves in, and yet in these challenging days we can rise to it and become better people. We can have a better country. We can really uplift our community. So, Daniel, well done to you and your mates for being involved, and Grant for the initiative that you and the school are doing. Thegray.com for more information. To support and get involved. Wonderful initiative from the Gray Foundation. Guys, thanks, and straight back to learning now, Daniel. Straight back to studying, eh?
I'm going to go to biology Zoom now.
Okay. Grant, thanks for the time. Bless you guys.
No, thank you too. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Pleasure. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Real, relevant radio. Kingfisher FM.